Welcome back to Calder Park Thunderdome, where we're preparing now for the first of the 55-lap AUSCAR heats. An absolute crackerjack field today at Calder Park Thunderdome, and a huge turnout of spectators as well. Pole position, of course, has gone to Mark Seaton in the Ford, holding the inside of the front row. And, of course, we hope you're enjoying Seven's coverage of the Boomba NASCAR and AUSCAR Nationals, proudly brought to you by Shell Unleaded. Why not experience the difference? And here's the field coming round on their parade lap. Won't be too long before they go to green. Might be timely to take a look how they line up after qualifying yesterday. Pole position going to Mark Seaton in the Ford. Second spot to Greg East in car number 99. From 3, Jimmy Richards. Out of position number 4, the young lady racer we'll keep an eye on today, Terry Sawyer. From 5, car number 7, Kim Jane in the Ford. From position number 6, 35, all the way from Queensland, it's Greg Hansford. From 7, 25, Terry Wyhoon. From 8, number 38, Mike Oliver. From 9, 39, Mark Smedley. And rounding out the 10 today, Robert Burns in a Holden Commodore. Full field of starters, and of course Bradley Jones, who we all expected to be sitting on pole for the activities of AUSCAR here today for the Goodyear Series, is going to start very, very deep in the pack after a qualifying accident yesterday.
And these grid positions, of course, determined by the finishing order of the previous race.
Is this Terry Sawyer in 05? As we said earlier, winner of the inaugural AUSCAR event here at Calder Park Thunderdome. Very rarely out of the placings, Terry Sawyer. She's had 6 starts for 1 victory, and that was her first start in AUSCAR competition, and she is presently 8th in the Goodyear AUSCAR Series. Terry Sawyer from Mornington, young lady to watch this afternoon, and destined also to go on and drive in the NASCAR machines a little later on during 1990. Pace car has the field held down. We should be off the racetrack. And in fact pulls off the racetrack now as officials prepared to turn on the green light. The green flag about to wave. Ready for some AUSCAR activity from Calder Park Thunderdome, and we go to a green flag, and very quickly it's Seaton who gets down on the inside and leads them away from Greg East, with Terry Sawyer very quickly up into 3rd, and going around the outside is Greg Hansford. Jimmy Richards well positioned on the inside here, and also a good start from Bradley Jones, very deep in the pack, and he's got to make up a lot of cars very early in this race in the Cooper Tools Commodore. Onto the back straight for the first time, it's Seaton, but Greg East looking for an inside pass, and look at Terry Sawyer coming. Following in the draft as once again Seaton closes it down to the low line, coming off turn 4 on the spectators, really giving the drivers a huge send-off to the start in the first lap of this race. Here they come across the strike, and it's Seaton over East. The next one is Sawyer, followed by Hansford. Kim Jane the next. Jimmy Richards, in fact, has dropped back a spot, and Brad Jones already coming out of the pack as it's on for young and old up front, with Greg East on the inside in the Commodore. Seaton on the outside, not too much between them as they work the back straight.
Tremendous battle between the 351 V8 powered Ford on the outside, the XF driven by Mark Seaton, and Greg East on the inside. East well positioned at the moment as they come off turn 4 and back into the tri-oval section of the course. And Greg East with a car length in hand over Mark Seaton. Terry Sawyer in 3rd, Greg Hansford next, then Kim Jane, followed by Jim Richards. And as you suggested, Mike, we've got a glimpse there of the Cooper Tools Commodore driven by Brad Jones, the series leader in the Goodyear AUSCAR Series, and he's already up to 9th.
Down to some real serious stuff on the back straight. Greg East certainly a star performer here today, as Terry Sawyer on the inside now of Mark Seaton, making her presence felt down beneath the white line, and she will take over 2nd as they come off turn 4, back down through the tri-oval, looking for Jimmy Richards to make a move. But Terry Sawyer up into 2nd with Greg Hansford on the outside of Seaton, and Kim Jane now starting to come into it.
Kim Jane was a little quiet in the earlier heat today, but many of the guys have had an opportunity, and I can see smoke coming out of the back of the Hansford car. But many of the guys have had an opportunity to make fine-tuning adjustments to their suspension and geometry settings after the first heat. The Jones car, for example, was very tail-happy. It feels that it's now much better, and obviously that's apparent on the racetrack, and I think you'll find that Kim Jane's been able to change something in the car and get some extra performance.
In fact,
I think the car's out of control on turn 4. I think we'll get a yellow out of that incident.
There's 2 cars tangling and one spinning down off the racetrack, and I think maybe one has probably popped a tyre.
Actually, that's just what Brad Jones would need to bunch the field up again. It's much easier for him to leapfrog a couple of positions, the series leader.
Not much work to do on that, Commodore.
Richard Howe. Yes, he'll be headed back to the pits.
The other car involved, I think, was car number 22. That was Clyde Lawrence.
Pace car about ready to pull down to pit row, which means we'll be having the field come in to take the green for the restart with Greg East. Out there in front, Terry Sawyer sitting not too far off the bumper, and we go back to a green in the AUSCAR heat. Greg getting away smartly. Terry Sawyer, something's gone.
It looked like she missed a gear. In fact, I'd say that it's either jammed in a gear or it won't take the next gear because she's just gone to the back of the field. In fact, she's pulled to the low line and it's going to go to the pits. Greg East, the leader from Kim Jane, with Jim Richards in third, Mark Seaton in fourth, and Brad Jones now moving up to fifth.
Greg Hansford rejoined on the same lap, but he's back in position 27 now, so he's got a lot of work in front of him.
He certainly has. They come off turn number 4 back towards the tri-oval. Greg East, still your race leader. Kim Jane, though, getting on even terms with him, and Jimmy Richards bringing the field up. Seaton, the pole sitter, drops back to 4th spot. Brad Jones, of course, to 5th spot in the field as they go through turn number 2 and work their way onto the back straight. And Kim Jane, who started from position number 7, now up to 2nd, and starting to close on Greg East as they go down the back straight.
Terry Sawyer. A bit hard for us to eavesdrop from here, but it's a terminal problem because they're going to push it behind the pit wall.
Bad luck for Terry Sawyer, who looks so good, qualified so well for today's AUSCAR competition. Back to the race, though. Greg East continues to lead it from Kim Jane, Jimmy Richards, Mark Seaton, then, of course, Bradley Jones.
Currently on lap 10 of 55.
Greg Hansford coming back through the pack.
They dive into turn number 3 now. Look at Kim Jane, really as low as he can get through that turn. They sweep out by the wall. This is where Greg East has been able to just out-drag Kim Jane heading down to the next turn. There's Brad Jones. Not running that far behind the leaders, and the Cooper Tools entry as we take our Dulux Auto Colour race cam as they work their way down into the bottom corner.
Brad's working pretty hard there as he came off turn 4. That was the turn 2, I should say. That was the one where he came unstuck yesterday in qualifying. He's chasing Mark Seaton, another driver from Albury, a pal of his, although at the moment he's got him in his gun sights. This is the man that they're all chasing, including Kim Jane, who's about 2 car lengths behind in the Ford Falcon.
And until you actually get out on this track, it's hard to appreciate how steep that banking is. It's 24 degrees, but it seems almost vertical when you drive around it.
And a little on the rough side too, Cam.
Yes.
This is not the smoothest spread of pavement. I think they had a lot of difficulty trying to lay it because of the banking. But you really don't gather that looking at the cars. It all looks so smooth, but the drivers really are fighting.
39 laps to go.
Greg East coming up on to put a lap on a car, and he's got Kim Jane, who'll probably make the most of this as he really closes up, diving into the turn, trying to hold low. As they sweep out, Jane will go out wider than anyone. There's the car they're coming up on now.
Anyone looking for Rod Wilson in car 37? He's just pitted with the bonnet up. A lot of smoke coming from that engine.
Now watch Jane's tactics now as they come off turn number 2, the back straight. East trying to work out whether he'll run low or high for this lap car, and Jane is trying to get on racing terms with the 2 of them. Will probably catch this car diving into the next turn. The driver in question will hang very, very low. Here's Jane right on the bumper of East. How much closer would you need to be? Sweeps out by the wall.
Oh, gee, Kim Jane was totally sideways. Then he tried to pull down as tight as he could to make the run on the inside, but it unsettled the car.
That actually cost him a couple of car lengths. Now he's closed it up again.
He's launched him, and East is going to lose this thing in a big way down the back straight. If he can keep it off the wall, it'll save him some money. I think he's done so. Terrific bit of driving from Greg East.
Great recovery from Greg East. And I don't think he'd be the happiest guy in the world. And he's not even going to catch a yellow flag as a result of that. He's got back up on the racing line again, the low line, but at this stage Kim Jane has been able to to power along and establish a fairly handsome lead. Let's have a look exactly what happened as we go to the replay. There's Greg East. I would say that was a good nudge. Now that has set East off on a trail across the infield.
They're so hard to catch these things. Because of the way the wheels are set up geometrically, it's just not possible to recover them that easily. But he got the wheel straight here, kept it off the wall, regained his balance and was off and running once again. That was a smart bit of driving, and he's rejoined in position 14.
Once again, we take our Dulux Auto Colour race cam with Brad Jones running third on the racetrack. The car just ahead of him is, of course, Jimmy Richards. And they have a lot of lap traffic to contend with at this stage of the race.
He's getting close to Richards and getting an effect there from the slipstream off the back of the Falcon. He might be able to run down the inside here, and if he can do that, that'll squeeze him up to second. Richo has left room. Brad Jones through to second.
Neil, now that he has reached second, there's no one for him to draft off. How can he chase the leader? What can he do to narrow that gap?
Pray like crazy for a yellow flag.
That's absolutely right. The chances are that probably will happen.
History here.
Yes, history will show that
yeah.
There's always a couple of yellow flag laps when someone spins or whatever.
Jim Richards going back through the pack a bit. There goes Mark Seaton by on the inside. I don't know whether Jim may have a problem or he's seen the best of his tyres, but he's dropped back a couple of spots.
Kim Jane continues to lead from Brad Jones. Richard Blackney in car 80 to third. Mark Seaton is fourth. Mike Oliver fifth. Terry Wyhoon is sixth. Steve Harrington to seventh. Richards to eighth. Mal Rose to ninth, and Greg Hansford to 10th. That's been a good climb back through the pack from Greg Hansford. Let's check them out for you on our Shell race score. Kim Jane, the Bob Jane T-Marts Ford, continues to lead over Brad Jones in the Cooper Tools Commodore. Third is Mike Oliver. Fourth is Jimmy Richards in car number 1. And fifth is Mark Seaton in car number 23. Greg Hansford climbing back through the field in car number 35. Very strong qualifier here yesterday. Is now back to 9th.
After being 27th.
After being 27th, correct. So he has done one heck of a job coming back through the field. He's obviously enjoying his racing.
He's another man who needs a yellow flag.
I think they all do, all with the exception of Kim Jane. And there's Bradley Jones in the Cooper Tools Commodore carrying our race cam, our Dulux Auto Colour race cam. Brad, of course, the leader of the Goodyear AUSCAR Series, winner of 4 rounds at Calder in 1989. And you called that dominating a division. He's a former production car champ and a motocross racer. And one of the nice guys at the sport from Albury, Bradley Jones, and there he is at work.
Now we've got our race leader Kim Jane roaring into the pits with wheels locked up. There he is.
Well, he didn't get the yellow flag that he wanted.
Makes Brad Jones the race leader.
And really does tighten up the race. We go back to the race in a second as they move onto the back straight. And boy, have we got a race going here with Bradley Jones leading it in the Cooper Tools Commodore. Oh, you're not supposed to do that. That's an overrun.
Steve Harrington's the man to watch in this one.
Now, Harrington was the last start winner here at Calder Park Thunderdome. And he's trying to squeeze his way down on the inside of Jones as they go down to turn number 1. And Richard Blackney also in there, being somewhat of a spoiler. Blackney was the guy who I think gave him a thump in the tail.
Harrington on the outside here. He was down as far as 26th position, has now come up to challenge for the lead, and he might even be a millimetre in front at the moment, but Jones has got the pole line going into the next turn, and there's a lot of traffic to deal with. Harrington makes a lunge, and that was a good one. Change for the lead.
So you saw that on our Dulux Auto Colour race cam. Great move there from Steve Harrington as they come back down through the tri-oval. Bradley Jones sits in second spot. Richard Blackney is in third. Behind them, of course, is Terry Wyhoon and then Mark Seaton.
And Kim Jane's rejoined the race, but very, very slowly. I wonder what the problem was there.
Not much time for him to catch up, actually. 15 laps left in this 55-lapper.
Once again, they dive into turn number 3. The traffic is getting quite congested as Jimmy Richards goes in the Bob Jane T-Marts Falcon. He's in for a change of rubber. The Mick Webb crew very quickly servicing that car to try and get it back without going down another lap.
Smart driving here from Jones, who tucks down the inside to try and use some traffic to his advantage. Peter McKay in the older SBO Motorsport Ford Falcon, previously driven by Jim Richards, gets out of the way. But Harrington's got away now. He's kicked away probably the best part of 7 or 8 car lengths down the back straight. And wasn't he quick into the first part of that third turn?
Certainly was.
Kim James still limping around on the low line and will come back to the pits again. So what of his problem? It's terminal.
So Stephen Harrington, the leader from Brad Jones. The next is Richard Blackney, then Terry Wyhoon very close as well as they go down to turn 1.
This will be an important victory for Harrington, who was the last start winner at the Calder Thunderdome. Not only in terms of prize money, but it helps to close up the point situation between he and Jones. But he needs Jones to be in nowhere land to have any effect in the series. And incidentally, Blackney has now got by Brad Jones. So Brad's back to 3rd. And will not be a happy little Vegemite.
The next one that he's got to keep an eye out for is Terry Wyhoon in car number 25, the Commodore.
That's a great name for a driver, isn't it?
Why not?
Wyhoon.
Yeah, why not?
Seemed like fun at the time.
So they all passed Jane going down the back straight. And he now tacks on right behind Stephen Harrington. He's been running around there slowly and now decides he's going to race the leader of the event.
Well, Blackney's 1.8 seconds down on Steve Harrington, but we've got, as you say, Kim Jane as the spoiler, shall we say. A couple of laps down at least. And Steve will probably be aware of this. I'm not sure whether he's carrying a radio in the car, but he may have seen Kim Jane pull off, so chances are he knows what's occurring.
Jim Richards is back on the track, but I'm afraid it's all over for him. He's down 3 laps on the leader, and Kim Jane has rejoined. He's down 4 laps.
Richo's been an ordinary weekend for him after the tremendous victory last weekend with Nissan Motorsport in the opening round of the Touring Car Championship.
Some days are diamonds. Back straight. Richard Blackney running 2nd behind Stephen Harrington on the same lap.
Cameron and I were down on the side of the track just having a look yesterday at the form, and we saw him have the world's biggest lose in front of us and dug out about 400 square metres of dirt and threw it all over the place, but he survived it.
Yeah, it was a great save.
It was. And he seems to have the car dialed in very nicely at the moment.
He'd be doing some drivers a favour if he had another one now, actually.
There was always 26 odd other blokes out there who'd be really keen for you to fall off your bike pretty quickly.
I think it does prove that it's almost impossible to, even with the quickest pit stop in the business, to do one under a green flag lap and then try and make it up. You just can't do it. Get a yellow, it means everyone's in the same ballpark. They can all dive into the pits and then try and race again from the back of the field. Jimmy Richards and Kim Jane have discovered today, and even Terry Sawyer, you just cannot pit under the green. So race order still Stephen Harrington over Richard Blackney. Brad Jones holds on to 3rd. Terry Wyhoon is 4th. Mark Seaton 5th. Melrose is 6th. Followed by Alf Grant, Greg Hansford, Max de Jersey and Greg East rounding out the 10.
Spoken like a true Matthew sprinter.
Turn number 4. We take Dulux Auto Colour Race Cam with Bradley Jones. 3rd on the racetrack.
And Terry Wyhoon, who's right behind him, is challenging.
Bit of debris on the track. This is the yellow flag that the drivers were after.
Got one in the grass here.
Eddie Woods.
Well, Eddie's managed to get off the grass and down onto pit lane, but it was all a bit too late because the yellow did come out.
He managed to nail the wall coming out of turn 4, and he's down at turn 1 at the moment, so it was an accident that went for some distance.
Yes, the drivers will be hoping they can clear this track quickly because there's only 5 laps to go, and all the laps under this caution flag do count.
They do, but the good thing is, though, that
there's the bits
under the regulations that you do get 5 clear racing laps to the checkered flag, which
that's right.
The rule that they amended at the last meeting when they had too many of these races finishing under a yellow flag, and people really do like to see a race to the flag.
And this will be pretty interesting because it'll give everybody a chance to settle down. It gives the tyres an important breather, and we'll have Steve Harrington and Richard Blackney and Brad Jones all in a position to be able to fight it out in the closing laps. Bradley, what is happening out there?
Well, Neil, I got a pretty hairy piece of machinery here. I slapped the wall pretty hard yesterday, and we haven't quite got it right, but it's okay. I mean, 31st to 4th, could do a lot worse.
Absolutely. You were saying earlier on, Brad, that the car had a bad oversteer characteristic. Is it still doing that?
Good news, Cromley, nothing's changed.
Well, you charged through the field. We thought this is all right. You got through to the lead at one stage after Kim went back into the pits. But obviously, whatever the situation is that you've got going, it's not helping your tyres, and that's why you've snuck backwards.
Well, I actually thought Harrington was a lap down because he pitted when the first caution came on. So that puts him in the lead. Who have you got in second?
Richard Blackney is in second, car number 80. He trailed you for a while, Braddo, and then we've got you in third place, and Terry Waihoon, who's car number 25, is behind you.
Yeah, well, I thought that was about the pace. I thought I'd let Richard go by because he'd given me a couple of subtle hints.
And Marshall Brewer's just in front of you there, and he's a lap down.
Yeah, I thought that might be the size. I'm really surprised Harrington's in the lead. If I knew that, I wouldn't have let him pass so easy, but...
You're supposed to be a gentleman racer.
Me? Get serious?
Pace car about ready to pull off the racetrack. We'll have 5 clear racing laps to the checkered flag. And it's Stephen Harrington who'll lead away. Bradley Jones has now moved to second.
The amazing thing was, while we were talking to Brad Jones, Richard Blackney's pulled to the pits, and the guesstimation that we're making in the commentary box is he's run out of fuel.
Could be. Now, has Brad Jones got enough in reserve to be able to haul in the race leader? Stephen Harrington inside 5. Green flag about to come out. We go back to racing in the Goodyear AUSCAR Series.
Oh, good start from Jones down the inside. Harrington on the outside. Terry Sawyer going in there as well. And Mark Seaton in the Ford Falcon.
Sensational start as they head down into turn number 1, where Brad Jones has taken over the lead, but Stephen Harrington will get close to him as they come off the turn. Moving on to the back straight, Jones out by the wall and will now try and cover his tracks because he'll have Harrington up on the inside of him. Yes, Harrington will have to go all the way around him and probably has enough horsepower to do it. They are side by side as they come off turn number 4, down towards the line with 4 laps to go in the AUSCAR race. Bradley Jones is your race leader in the Cooper Tools Commodore.
Moral of the story, never lend your engine.
Side by side, and Jones will go into this corner, but he ducks too low, and that will just give the advantage to Steve Harrington. Harrington goes by on the outside to take over the lead from Bradley Jones. Terry Waihoon picks up third place on the inside going down the back straight, and Mark Seaton, who's made a lunge once or twice at the leaders, has faded again to drop back to about 4th or 5th.
Harrington's car very well balanced. They've done a good job setting the thing up, no doubt, and the car was just infinitely better in that low area of the racetrack before. Jones still working away at a variety of lines to try and make the gap, but I don't think he's going to be able to do anything about the leader. And Stephen Harrington is just disappearing into the distance.
Halfway down the back straight, it'll be our race leader Steve Harrington to put a lap on Peter Mackay as they dart up into turn number 3. There's Terry Sawyer, who's still well down the pack after problems missing the start.
Come down with 2 laps to go.
And right behind her is Terry Waihoon in car number 25. He's presently showing us 3rd in the race. 4th place to...
He's 1.3 seconds behind Steve Harrington.
Mark Seaton.
Mark Seaton's got Kim Jane on his tail, although Kim's a number of laps down. White flag will come out this time for 1 lap to go.
It looks like a repeat win here at Calder Park this afternoon. The white is out. 1 to go. Stephen Harrington leads them down to turn number 1 with Bradley Jones and the Cooper Tools Commodore running in second. Terry Waihoon, car number 25, is 3rd. And Mark Seaton, the pole sitter in the Ford Falcon, runs in 4th spot as they work the back straight now for the final time. The leader has sprinted away, but it's very, very close for 2nd, 3rd and 4th as they enter turn number 4. Checkered flag at the ready. Big crowd here standing to cheer home. The man is going to put back-to-backs together, and that's Stephen Harrington. And it's checkered flag time for Harrington and the Commodore. Jones right on his bumper as they go across the line in 2nd. 3rd is Terry Waihoon, and finishing 4th is Mark Seaton, just clear of Mal Rose, who also turned in a blinder to finish in the top 5. Well, a good performance from Stephen Harrington. Great drive from the youngster who had problems at the last meeting here, but came up to to score a victory, and he's come up this afternoon in the same vein. Let's recap them for you on our race score. Thanks to Toyota. Oh, what a feeling. Steve Harrington, the race winner in the Commodore. Second spot goes to Brad Jones. Third to Terry Wyhoon. Fourth spot to Mark Seaton. And fifth to Melrose. And we'll return to Calder in just a moment. Welcome back to Calder Park Thunderdome. Don't forget Seven's great lineup of sport continues next weekend. We'll be in Tasmania Sunday for round 2 of the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship from Symmons Plains. Catch all the action between 2 and 4 Eastern Time. Here in the basketball, don't forget only 7 has the Kmart Classic coming your way in March, so check local guides for telecast times. And of course, later in the month, join us for all the Davis Cup action when Australia takes on New Zealand at the Milton Courts in Brisbane. And of course, no matter what sport you follow, you'll find it each and every Sunday morning on Sports World with Bruce McAvaney between 9 and noon Eastern Time. There's 4 more reasons for staying with 7 Sport during March. At the moment, we're only 30 seconds away from the start of the NASCAR 0.05 series from Calder Park Thunderdome. Alan Grice has pole position, as you can see, on the inside with Barry Graham on the outside. The second row taken up with car number 88, Gene Cook, and starting on the outside there is, of course, Fred Siri of Wollongong. Robin Best in the next row, along with George Elliott. And the pace car now pulls into the pit area, and we're about to go racing with Alan Grice, looking for 2 out of 2 here today. Green flag is out. But it'll be Graham and Grice side by side coming down for the start, and Grice marginally getting the jump. Graham electing to run the high side as they go down into turn number 1. And look at the wall of cars just back behind them. Fred Siri, a very good start, and he'll start out and around them looking for a challenge as they move onto the back straight, but it's Grice clear in the Valvoline Commodore.
I noticed that Grice is doing a lot of sliding at the moment, running very, very wide, and that's going to give Barry Graham the incentive he needs. The carrot has been dangled, and he's taking a bite of it.
Yes, he's just never stopped pushing Alan Grice. Grice is running at his pace, but Graham is running about the same pace that he started the race, and he's now door handle to door handle with Alan Grice, so the real McCoy Kentucky Bourbon car on the inside of Alan Grice's Valvoline Commodore as they head once again back up into turn number 3. And Graham has got the car sticking to the racetrack on the low line too. He hasn't moved out of there. Grice running up by the wall. Ian Clarkson of Victoria Pitts in the number 8 car. Problems for that team. As we watch this fascinating scrap between one of the best and polished touring car racers in recent years, Alan Grice, with Barry Graham, a short track speedway expert, working hard at trying to haul the car down on the low line and make Grice race round the outside of him. And Grice, there's not too much between the wall and Grice when they come down through the trioval.
It's about 3 thou. They're starting to move ever closer to the back of Terry Byers. 0.1 of a second according to the computer. That's the gap we're looking at on screen at the moment.
Pit stop coming up for Gene Cook of Tasmania in car number 11. So Cook goes into the pits.
Moves Jim Richards to 7th.
Jim really is a tradesman, a man for all types of competition. It was already pointed out he loves his AUSCAR and his NASCAR racing, and
Jim just loves driving anything.
Yep,
even a hard bargain.
Yes, and he really is a tough cookie in any sort of equipment. You saw him at his best last weekend at Amaroo Park as we watched the pit stop between the Gene Cook crew over there, car number 11. Not the time to want to pit in the middle of green flag racing laps where you can go down 3 laps ever so quickly. Alan Grice almost clipped the wall that time out. He was so wide. Graham just sits again. Tortoise in the hare.
Yes, I've got a feeling this one's going to go all the way to the flag.
Just look at them now as they come onto the back straight. Grice again.
I don't think that Grice is going to be able to get away. 37 and 50 we've done.
Well, it's obvious his car's got a little more grunt than Graham's car.
An edge. That's all it is.
But it's wandering in the turns just a touch, and that's where Graham is making it up purely through handling.
Through a 1/10 of a second is vital, isn't it?
Well, the style of racing overseas, there'll be another 27 drivers in there spread out over the next second.
Brad Jones said something that was very true earlier on about the conditions, the weather conditions, and wind direction and temperature. And just today, when you just look around the place, the humidity in and around Melbourne is almost like that of Sydney in recent weeks.
Yep.
And it has a drastic effect on the way these cars handle. And talking about handling, Fred Siri's gone up into the wall between turns 3 and 4. There he is.
He's managed to move off the circuit down onto the grass area, so I don't think he's in harm's way there. The lap's running out.
They haven't pulled the yellow, I don't think.
No, they haven't. I think Fred is parked on the apron road, so there's no real reason for him.
That's bad news for his points position. He was in 4th. Looked to me like he just got out of shape, slid up high and tapped the wall.
There it is, as you can see. Fred Siri hooking the front back round of the wall and then sliding down the bank out of harm's way before anyone else arrived to be part of his accident.
Lap 40 of 50, round 4.
So 10 to go. Alan Grice with that Buick as they head down to turn number 1. Work in the pits for said Fred Siri's car. Trying to belt out the paddle work. Make sure it's not rubbing up against the tyre. But a costly whack in the wall for Fred Siri that's going to drop him down. He's already dropped down to 10th, so there's not going to be too many points coming his way.
Mind you, if he can stay out there, there's certainly money to be had. Notice that these cars don't have the inboard jacking systems like we see on a touring car, for example. Cars are manually, hydraulically lifted, the ordinary old jack. Number of subtle variations in the rules.
Well, Barry
this
Graham
class.
poked the nose of his car down on the inside of Grice that time, and the thing broke loose on him. He caught it back up now. The problem he's got is that Robin Best in car number 88 is closing on him. Grice actually was off the pedal completely, and Graham was committed to the corner and then had to back out of it, got the tail around.
I reckon there might be a problem with the Graham car watching it there, Mike. Maybe he's got a tyre blistering, but it looks very unstable in the turns. Now we've got Best up on the outside and squeezes through to second. Definitely something bizarre happening with car number 2. Just looks untidy through it.
Yeah, and he hasn't even made an attempt to get quickly past Terry Byers at this stage, so he's running to finish. Bad luck there for Barry Graham, because he really had made life maybe interesting for Alan Grice and made our telecast interesting of the race.
I reckon he might have a deflating tyre, or he's got one that's blistering, something of that nature. He'd be well advised at this late stage of the game to probably hang out there, although he's pulled to the low line. I think he's going to make a pit stop.
I think he's more safety first, Barry, with about 5 laps to go. That is rotten luck. And it's probably the right call on a tyre that's either blistered or was deflating. Surprising, we've had a number of cars into the pits over this short distance. So Graham heads down pit lane to look for fresh rubber, as Alan Grice now finds the pressure off him. He still leads from Robin Best. That'll move George Elliott, Barry Graham's team partner, up into third place in car number 55, the second of the...
They're not looking around the rubber area, so that's a false start, Mr. Crompton. They must have some other problem somewhere along the line.
I couldn't believe that they'd be a gas problem over this distance.
I don't know what they've got in the boot or trunk area of this car. Maybe that's where the fuel pumps are positioned, or which is often the case. There's a lot of work going on at the back of the car. If you have a look in there, you can see that's where they've got their entire fuel system and pumps, and maybe they've got an intermittent problem there with a fuel pump or something like that.
Talking about fuel, Unical 76, of course, it's aligned with the Winston Cup competition in the United States, has completed a deal with Ampol in Australia. Ampol has taken over the brew for the NASCAR and AUSCAR. Fairly high octane, up around about 115.
I believe it's the highest octane fuel that's ever been developed on Australian shores.
About 2 laps to go in the NASCAR 50 for the Moomba Cup at Calder Park Thunderdome.
Look at all the garbage on the back of the car there, Mike. There's
Alan Grice going down the back straight. And we've got real dramas because not only is Alan Grice, but Robin Best from Tasmania is coming on like you couldn't believe. Now, whether or not they are all running low on fuel, I'm not sure, but Grice has eased the pace up. They're coming in with 1 lap to go, and Robin Best is all over Grice. Grice has just tapped the wall, and now it's Best down on the inside, running it side by side. This will be the moment of truth as they head down to turn number 1. And Best will go through. Grice will not like that. He will try and stick on the outside of him, but Best immediately comes up the racetrack. They work the back straight, and Grice is out against the wall. They are on their last lap. What a thriller of a finish as Grice will tuck down low and try and get him back again under brakes. Now he's caught him 1 out. Now whether Best can carry on all the way to the flag. Grice has got it poked down the inside of him, but Best is coming off the corner. Best, and it'll be the Tasmanian. The last lap, the crowd's gone wild with this one. Best wins it from Alan Grice. What a finish. George Elliott will finish 3rd at the 2nd of the Real McCoy Kentucky Bourbon cars in a sensational finish. Robin Best of Tasmania. So whatever the problem that Barry Graham had, maybe the same problem as beset Alan Grice.
However, Grice, the winner of the earlier race, that would no doubt give him the victory on the day, so perhaps he wasn't prepared to push at the very end there. Best struggled a little in the earlier heat.
So Robin Best coming down to victory lane. Sensational finish to the NASCAR 50 at Calder Park Thunderdome. Let's cap them out for you. Check who actually won. We know who won on our Shell race score. It was Robin Best. Alan Grice finishes for 2nd spot. George Elliott in 3rd place. John Laws picks up 4th. And rounding out the 5 was Western Australia's Barry Blake.
Welcome back to Calder Park, and the man who came from nowhere to win that sensational last lap, Robin Best.
Yeah, well, it was a tough one. We started from 4th on the grid, and there was a lot of oil and coming out of the number 2 car, and I really didn't think I could wear him down, but we did.
Yeah, well, you certainly did that. It looked like it was going to be an all-the-way go for Alan Grice, but who, of course, won the first heat and is the overall winner, but you really surprised him there.
Yeah, well, I think I took him a little bit by surprise, but he looked like he was getting a little loose, and I was just trying to keep some pressure on him and hoping he'd get looser and looser, and he did. So lucky I had enough laps in the race to get him.
Yeah, for sure. Well, over the day, the conditions have changed pretty remarkably. Is it a dramatic change of tyres that you need, like if you had to plan that fairly carefully?
Well, we need to tighten the car up. The car's very loose. Now, I don't know, it seems like it might get a little warmer. So we'll need to tighten the car up. And but I don't know what, the track right now is very, very slippery. And but what it's going to be like in hour's show's time, I don't know.
Thanks, Robin. Well, a sensational heat winner, but of course the top NASCAR driver for the day was Alan Grice. Mike.
Well, thank you, Cameron Williams, and a lucky win there for Robin Best, but top NASCAR driver on the day, Alan Grice, and a hard nut to crack.
Yeah, Grice did a great job. He worked pretty hard with that Commodore, and, well, he's got $30,000 under his belt from an earlier round. It's all looking good for him in that NASCAR. Let's hope he can get over to the States later in the year and show them what an Aussie can do. And what about Brad Jones? After a disastrous day yesterday, he's managed to recover and still cling to some valuable points, which will keep him in good stead for the series, and I think that's the important thing.
I think so. He's certainly done it hard this weekend. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the NASCAR and AUSCAR Moomba Nationals from Calder Park Thunderdome, and that you might like to join us next Sunday for round 2 of the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship from Symmons Plains in Tasmania. We look forward to your company then.